This is my white weatherboard home in Sussex, England.
Hi, I'm Tracy. This is Bertie. Welcome to our home. Today we're going to do the interior tour of the downstairs. Enjoy.
As you come through the front door into the hallway, the first thing you notice is the galleried landing with homemade chandelier. More on this on my upstairs tour. Back to the downstairs tour. So underneath the stairs is this old workbench. I use it as a console table and I style it seasonally. At the moment, it's still very much styled for winter. This was found in a little antique shop down in Rye on the coast. The oak front door was an eBay find that I stripped and made an opening big enough for it. This £50 auction find is French, very old, very heavy, and I just adore it. Before I started the renovation here, I knew I wanted to use vintage cast iron radiators, but they are so expensive to buy. So I spent a year buying them up off eBay, travelling all over the south of England to pick them up. Had them shop blasted, refurbed, the whole thing for about £2,000. As you've probably gathered by now, everything in my home will have a story behind it because I love to recycle, reuse, buy at auction, buy at charity shops, upcycling and repurposing as I go. Now, into the snug. This was originally planned to be a dining room, but it was just going to be such a walk-through room. I wanted an area that we could curl up with a book, no TV, sit and talk, just off the kitchen. So this was a perfect place to do it. Plus it was the only room that I could fit my huge 8-foot sofa in. All the chairs and sofas that you'll see have been purchased at auction and then I have them reupholstered. I love to revamp my accessories too, so I'll pop up some videos on the different techniques that I use. This one here is one of my favourites. When we purchased the house, there wasn't a lot worth keeping. However, there were 3 wood burners and 2 ingle nooks, and those are about the only things that didn't change place during the build. I've had this mantel shop blasted and then I white waxed it to finish it off, painting the inside of the ingle nook. The 6-foot coffee table here used to be our dining room table some 25 years ago. It was an ideal size for in here, but obviously too high, so I reduced it by cutting away some of the pedestal. Here are some of the things that I love to style with: vintage mirrors, brass candlesticks, pine cones, aged stone pots, vintage book piles, displays of twigs, and flexes wrapped in coir. There's a video on this. So let's leave the snug now and head into the office. Now this space was originally a bathroom and a garden room. It had a flat roof, so I took the roof off, pitched it to create the ceiling height. And the timbers that I took off, I've used to create the headboard in my master bedroom. But more on that on the upcoming upstairs tour. This is now a great space to work in. It's so light and airy. I have my little furry friend with me. He's an office dog. He has a bed in here. And of course, if I need a little snooze myself, there's a nice comfy chair. I put French doors in here as well that open out onto the veranda. So again, if it gets too hot with all the glass, you can always open the doors and have that lovely breeze coming through. I was a sole decorator on the build, so I've sprayed all the walls just plain emulsion white. Now let's head to the kitchen. To give you an idea of space here, this is over 600 square feet with 10 feet high ceilings. There are no wall units here as I'm not much over 5 foot and I always struggle with the height of them. So I have actually put really deep countertops in, which always creates a more high-end finish. So I create framework behind the cabinets in order to take the extra quartz, which is what I've used. Now the inspiration for the whole kitchen design is this baby. Oh my lordy, I love this old engineer's workbench so much. I designed the whole kitchen around it. I found it at an antiques fair 18 months before the build even started. And it just lived in what is now the cottage, but was my storage unit, covered in blankets. I just love it to death. So where do I store everything? Well, we built this pantry cupboard predominantly out of MDF. I will show you in detail on another video when I do a kitchen tour. The base units here are predominantly drawers, and the range cooker is by Everhot. It's 1.5 meters long and electric. I keep the vintage style baubles out from Christmas through to March, the same as fairy lights and just little bits of warming winter touches. I love my accessories. But enough of that, back to the kitchen details. So I've put a tap behind the range cooker. Now, if you're in America, you'll think that's absolutely normal. If you're in England, you'll be asking me why. And it's because the pans are so heavy. I spent a lot of time in America. I thought it was a brilliant idea. So I incorporate it in every kitchen that I do. The Rangemaster fridge freezer came from my last house and it was black, which obviously wasn't going to work in here. So I had it sprayed. It's actually a 2-pack system, so it's super hard and durable, and it's in the same shade as the Everhot range, which is RAL 7047 if you're interested. The Everhot range also used to be black, and I had that professionally sprayed. I always recommend to people who are looking for these top-end appliances to consider buying second-hand and having them recoloured to suit their interior design taste. Now, you may have noticed that I have no window dressings. This is for several reasons, but mainly because I like to maximise the amount of light coming into the house, and also because we're not overlooked when the trees are in full leaf. This is the only side of the house that I could possibly see in the distance a neighbour, so this is why I've put shutters here. I get so many questions about my kitchen floor on social media. This is actually tile from Tops Tiles. When people come to the house, they often bend down to touch it to see if it's wood. My beautiful big old pine dresser, if you're in England, hutch, if you're in America, actually came from my last house and was left by the previous owners, fortunately for me. I bought this table many houses back and it's changed colour several times, as have the chairs. This is Mo, Mahogany Mo, as we like to call her. A big mahogany dresser, found at auction for not very much money, which I renovated. And you can find all the details on my Instagram account. There will be a highlight on there. Now that's the end of the kitchen tour. So I think Bertie wants to go out onto the veranda. Let's go and see. The veranda is my absolute happy place. It's south facing, it's sheltered, it's great to use all year round. I don't know why in the UK we don't build more undercover structures. It's so good for the mental well-being to be sat out here watching the wildlife, just enjoying nature and staying dry. I built the veranda base with the cheapest brick that I could find, and then I created a German smear effect, so like a broken paint effect. But rather than using lime, I used swimming pool grout. And being white, it does require annual maintenance. So the base of the veranda, I will use some masonry paint on just to brighten it up. The outside of the building is actually a fibre cement pre-coloured hardy plank. So that, aside from a wash down, doesn't need anything. But the spindles and the upright posts do require some touch up each year. So just giving you the heads up, if you want to live in the land of white, be prepared to do a bit of work. So let's leave the veranda there and we'll go to the sitting room. We quite often call this the winter sitting room, as it's a space that we tend to only use maybe on an evening or, as I say, in the winter. It's on the north side of the house, so it's a dark, cosy room, but we've got the lovely wood burner there. We've got the bookcases that are made from MDF and we brought from our previous home. This is actually the oldest part of the house. Records going back to 1730, so you can see the old beams here. I did whiten the beams because they were all mismatched and in terrible condition, and I wanted to keep the space light and neutral. And on this side of the house we have the laundry room. Now, the door here, this came from my last house and with some really strange writing on it. A really huge backstory, which I'll tell you another time. Now, when we moved in, this was the kitchen. Tiny little space, but ideal as a laundry room. It's great to have a space where all your laundry can be done and not spread around the house. I have a Sheila maid up at the top there. I even keep Bertie's toys in here. He has his own basket. And an auction find cupboard here that I stripped and white waxed. Provides great storage. I built a space big enough to put a washer and a dryer, although we use just a washer dryer. This was an eBay find that I did a little bit of chopping about with to create a sink unit. And of course, you've got to have that cupboard there for all the things you don't want to see. And some shelving for the things you do want to see. I've even put a TV in here, so when hubby's doing the ironing, he has something to watch. Now, from the laundry room, we go through to the boot room, and this is the first floor I ever tiled, completely by myself, really chuffed with that. This is another incredibly valuable space. You know, we're in a rural location, we've got land, and we get very muddy. So it's wonderful to have somewhere to come in where you can just dump everything. And there's also the downstairs loo. I found the bucket in the garden, and hubby found the bib taps for nothing at the local tip. It's amazing the things people throw away. These would cost me about £400 to buy. Insane. I had such fun doing this little room, and I really can't wait to show you the rest of the house.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the downstairs. If you did, why not subscribe? Join me for our next video, which is going to be with Bertie, a tour of the upstairs. Thank you, bye.